If you're a real pilot, prove it by riding my Ikran. The alien girl mocked. She had no idea. The alien sun beat down mercilessly on Jack Horton's neck as he stepped off the transport shuttle onto Viridian's rust-colored soil. The gravity was slightly heavier than Earth standard, making his movements feel sluggish and deliberate. He adjusted the collar of his reinforced jumpsuit, which clung to his muscular frame like a second skin, already damp with sweat. "Welcome to Outpost Verdant," announced the automated voice from the terminal. "Please proceed to immigration for processing." Jack ran a hand through his short blonde hair and squinted his clear blue eyes against the harsh sunlight. After 3 months in cryo-sleep aboard the Terran exploration vessel Horizon, his body ached for real movement. The outpost looked like most frontier settlements, hastily constructed prefab buildings clustered around a central hub, with various alien species bustling about their business. "Another human," muttered a tall insectoid being to its companion as Jack passed. "They're sending more every cycle." Jack ignored the comment. Humanity's expansion into the Galactic Coalition had been met with mixed reactions. Some species welcomed the resourcefulness and adaptability humans brought to the table. Others viewed them with suspicion. Upstarts who'd achieved faster-than-light travel barely a century ago, yet already claimed seats at tables where other species had sat for millennia. He made his way to the immigration desk, where a bored-looking official with 4 arms processed his credentials. "Purpose of visit to Viridian?" the official droned. "I'm the new flight instructor for the Coalition Outpost," Jack replied, handing over his identification chip. "A specialized training for atmospheric craft." The official's eyes widened slightly. "You're the human pilot they sent. The one who's supposed to train our scouts on the new Terran Coalition hybrid vessels?" "That would be me." "Good luck with that," the official chuckled, stamping Jack's entry permit. "The locals aren't exactly receptive to outsiders telling them how to fly." Jack collected his duffel bag from the conveyor and stepped out into the settlement proper. The air smelled of exotic spices and machinery oil, the universal scent of a frontier town. He'd been in enough of them to know the drill. Find lodging, locate the nearest drinking establishment, and get the lay of the land. The bar wasn't hard to find. A weathered sign depicting various alien drinking vessels hung above a doorway carved into the red stone cliff face. Inside, the lighting was dim and the air thick with smoke from substances Jack couldn't identify. Conversations in a dozen languages created a constant background hum. He ordered something the bartender assured him was compatible with human physiology and took a seat at a corner table. The liquid burned pleasantly in going down, leaving a tingling sensation on his tongue. "You must be the new instructor," came a melodic voice from behind him. Jack turned to find himself face to face with a humanoid woman. Her smooth, light blue skin seemed to shimmer in the bar's low light, contrasting with her flowing silver hair. She wore a tight dark brown outfit of leather and metal that accentuated her lean figure, topped with a wide-brimmed cowboy hat that gave her an air of confident nonchalance. "Word travels fast," Jack said, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. She ignored the invitation, instead leaning against the wall. "I'm Lyrian. I lead the Viridian Scout Squadron." "Jack Horton, pleasure to meet you." Her eyes, violet with horizontal pupils like a goat's, narrowed slightly. "So you're the hotshot pilot the Coalition sent to teach us how to fly? What makes you qualified to instruct riders who've been flying since they could walk?" Jack took another sip of his drink. 15 years of combat flight experience across 7 planetary systems, specialized training in atmospheric combat maneuvers, and I hold the current speed record for the Antares run. Impressive for someone who flies machines. Her tone made it clear she wasn't impressed at all. "But here on Viridian, we have a different relationship with flight." "So I've heard. The Ikran bond is unique in the Coalition." "It's more than unique. It's sacred." Lyrian pushed off from the wall and leaned closer. "Flying in Ikran isn't about pushing buttons or pulling levers. It's about trust, instinct, and becoming one with your mount." Several other patrons had gone quiet, watching their exchange with interest. "I'm not here to replace your traditions," Jack said carefully, "just to help integrate new Coalition tech with your existing methods." Lyrian laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "If you're a real pilot, prove it by riding my Ikran," she challenged, loud enough for the entire bar to hear. The room fell silent. Jack felt every alien eye on him, waiting for his response. "I wasn't aware that was part of the job description," he said evenly. "It isn't," Lyrian replied with a smirk, "but no one on Viridian will respect a flight instructor who can't handle an Ikran, especially a human one." Jack stood, matching her gaze. "Lead the way." Outside, the settlement gave way to a vast plateau overlooking a lush valley. Massive trees with spiral trunks stretched toward the sky, their canopies forming an emerald ocean below. In the distance, flying creatures soared between floating rock formations covered in luminescent moss. Lyrian put 2 fingers in her mouth and whistled, a piercing sound that echoed across the plateau. Within moments, a dark shape appeared on the horizon, growing larger as it approached. Jack's breath caught in his throat as the creature landed before them. It was enormous, easily the size of an earth elephant, with tough, shimmering, steel-colored skin that caught the sunlight. Powerful wings stretched 20 feet from tip to tip, and its head was crowned with a bony crest. Piercing yellow eyes fixed on Jack, filled with intelligence and a predatory wariness. "This is Stormwing," Lyrian said, stroking the creature's neck with obvious affection. "He's been my partner for 8 cycles." The Ikran lowered its head, allowing Lyrian to climb onto a natural ridge along its back. There was no saddle, no reins, just the rider and the beast. "Your turn, Earthman," she said, sliding back to make room, "unless you'd prefer to admit you're out of your depth." A crowd had gathered, whispering and placing bets. Jack felt fear and awe battling within him as he stared at the massive alien creature. Its skin rippled with muscle beneath the steel-colored hide, and those yellow eyes seemed to look straight through him. But there was no turning back now. With a deep breath, Jack stepped forward and grabbed the bony ridge, pulling himself up behind Lyrian. The Ikran's skin was warm and surprisingly smooth beneath his hands. "Hold on," Lyrian said, a hint of challenge in her voice, "and try not to scream." Before Jack could respond, the Ikran launched itself from the plateau, plummeting toward the valley floor. Jack's stomach lurched as they fell, the wind tearing at his face. At the last possible moment, the creature's wings snapped open, catching an updraft that sent them soaring skyward with breathtaking speed. "Holy shit!" Jack shouted, his arms instinctively tightening around Lyrian's waist. She laughed, the sound almost lost in the rush of wind. "We're just getting started, pilot." Stormwing banked sharply, his massive wings catching an updraft that sent them rocketing toward a cluster of floating rock formations. The alien landscape blurred beneath them, a tapestry of emerald canopies and winding rivers that sparkled in the afternoon sun. "We're heading into the stone maze," Lyrian shouted over her shoulder, her silver hair whipping against Jack's face. "Most novice riders don't survive their first passage." Jack's arms tightened around her waist. "Is that supposed to reassure me?" Her laughter carried on the wind. "Consider it motivation." The first stone monolith loomed before them, a massive column of rust-colored rock suspended impossibly in midair. Stormwing tucked his wings and rolled, threading through a narrow gap between 2 formations with inches to spare. Jack's stomach lurched, but a familiar sensation began to take hold, the heightened awareness that came with extreme flying. "You need to feel the currents," Lyrian called back. An Ikran responds to weight shifts and pressure points along the spine ridge. Jack observed how she moved with the creature, her body becoming an extension of Stormwing's will. It wasn't so different from atmospheric flight in a high-performance craft, anticipating turbulence, reading the environment, becoming one with the machine, or in this case, with a living, breathing being. "Let me try!" Jack shouted. Lyrian glanced back, surprise evident in her violet eyes. "You want to?" "Yes." She hesitated for only a moment before sliding forward. "Place your hands here and here," she instructed, guiding his palms to specific points on Stormwing's neural ridge. "Press gently to indicate direction. He'll resist if he senses fear." Jack took a deep breath, centering himself as he would before a combat flight. The Ikran's muscles tensed beneath him, sensing the change in riders. "Easy, big guy," Jack murmured, applying gentle pressure with his right hand. Stormwing banked smoothly, responding to Jack's touch with surprising sensitivity. Ahead, 3 stone arches formed a slalom course of natural obstacles. Jack leaned forward, pressing with alternating hands while shifting his weight. The Ikran responded perfectly, weaving through the formations with precision that would make a fighter pilot jealous. "Holy shit!" Jack laughed, exhilaration flooding through him. "This is incredible!" Lyrian's body pressed against his back as she leaned forward. "How are you doing this?" she demanded, her breath warm against his ear. "No outsider has ever connected with an Ikran so quickly." "It's not so different from atmospheric combat flying," Jack replied, guiding Stormwing into a tight spiral around a spiraling rock column. "You don't just operate the craft, you become it." They emerged from the stone maze into open sky, the setting sun painting the clouds in brilliant hues of orange and purple. Jack guided Stormwing into a gentle glide, savoring the sensation of flight without machinery, pure, primal, and intoxicating. "Take us down there," Lyrian suggested, pointing to a plateau jutting from the valley wall. A small waterfall cascaded from its edge, feeding into the river below. Jack complied, feeling Stormwing's powerful muscles work as they descended. The landing was smoother than he expected, the Ikran touching down with surprising grace for such a massive creature. "That was..." Lyrian began as they dismounted, then shook her head in disbelief. "I've never seen anyone fly like that on their first ride." Jack stretched, his body humming with adrenaline. "I've never flown like that before. It's intimate, like the Ikran can read your thoughts." "That's exactly what it is," she said, approaching a small pool formed by the waterfall. She knelt and cupped her hands, drinking deeply before continuing. "The neural connection between Rider and Ikran is similar to a telepathic bond. Stormwing knew your intentions almost before you did." Jack joined her by the pool, suddenly aware of his parched throat. The water was cool and sweet, with a slight mineral tang. "Why did you really challenge me to ride?" he asked, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Lyrian's violet eyes met his. "To humiliate you, honestly. To send you back to your coalition's superiors with your tail between your legs. And now," a smile played at the corners of her mouth, "now I'm reconsidering my assessment of humans." The tension between them shifted, electric and undeniable. Jack became acutely aware of her proximity, the way the fading sunlight played across her blue skin, how her chest rose and fell with each breath. "Your species has a reputation," she continued, moving closer. "Brash, arrogant, convinced you can master anything within minutes of encountering it. And perhaps," her fingers brushed against his arm, "perhaps there's something to that confidence after all." Jack felt his pulse quicken. "I thought you couldn't stand humans." "I'm discovering there are exceptions," Lyrian replied, her voice dropping to a husky whisper. "Just as you're discovering, there's more to Ikran riding than pushing buttons and pulling levers." The space between them vanished as she pressed her body against his. Her lips found his, tentative at first, then with growing hunger. Jack responded in kind, his hands tracing the curve of her spine through the leather outfit. "This is unexpected," he murmured against her mouth. Lyrian pulled back slightly, her eyes searching his. "Is it?" The bond between Rider and Ikran creates a rush unlike anything else. The adrenaline, the danger, the connection. Her fingers tangled in his hair. It awakens primal instincts. "Is that what this is? Instinct. Does it matter?" she challenged, her hands sliding beneath his jumpsuit. As the twin moons of Viridian rose above the valley, casting their silver light across the plateau, Jack and Lyrian surrendered to the chemistry between them. Their bodies moved together with the same natural rhythm they'd found in flight, two beings from different worlds finding unexpected harmony. Later, as they lay beside the pool with Stormwing keeping watch nearby, Lyrian traced patterns on Jack's chest. "The others won't believe this," she said softly. "Which part? That I rode an Ikran or that we..." "Both." She propped herself up on one elbow. "No human has ever bonded with an Ikran before. It shouldn't be possible without the neural adaptations my species evolved." Jack considered this. Maybe it's not so much about biology as mindset. The willingness to surrender control while maintaining direction, that's the essence of all flight. Lyrian's expression grew serious. "There's something special about you, Jack Horton." and I'm not entirely sure that's a good thing. Dawn broke over Viridian as Jack and Lyrian approached the settlement, Stormwing's powerful wings casting a moving shadow across the landscape below. The night had been a revelation for both of them. Boundaries crossed, a preconception shattered, and an unexpected connection forged between two beings from different worlds. "We should probably keep what happened between us," Lyrian said over her shoulder, her voice carrying a hint of regret. "My squadron already distrusts the Coalition's intentions. If they knew about us—" Jack nodded against her back, understanding the complexities of their situation. "Agreed, though I'm not sure how I'll keep a straight face around you during training sessions." She laughed, the sound warming him despite the chill morning air. "You'll manage, Earthman. You've proven surprisingly adaptable." As they descended toward the settlement's landing platform, Jack noticed a crowd had gathered. Not just Lyrian's squadron, but village elders and what appeared to be some sort of ceremonial guard. Tall Viridians wearing elaborate headdresses adorned with Ikran feathers. "That's not normal," Lyrian murmured, tension evident in her voice. "The Council of Elders rarely leaves the temple." Stormwing touched down with practiced grace. The assembled Viridians maintained a respectful distance, their expressions ranging from awe to outright hostility. An older male Viridian with deep indigo skin stepped forward, his silver hair elaborately braided with beads and bones. "Lyrian, daughter of the Western Winds," he intoned formally. "You have brought the off-worlder directly to our sacred mounts without council approval." Lyrian dismounted and bowed her head slightly. "Elder Torin, I meant no disrespect. It was a challenge issued in haste. A challenge that should have ended with the human's failure," interrupted a muscular Viridian male with a jagged scar across his face. He wore the insignia of Lyrian's squadron, but carried himself with the authority of a leader. "Instead, you allowed him to bond with an Ikran. Your Ikran?" Jack dismounted, standing tall despite the hostile glares. "I wasn't aware that was forbidden." "It's not forbidden," Elder Torin said carefully. "It was thought impossible." The scarred warrior stepped forward aggressively. "Commander Dravag," Lyrian acknowledged with a stiff nod. "Jack Horton is the Coalition flight instructor assigned to our squadron. I was merely testing his capabilities. By allowing him to touch the neural ridge, by giving an outsider access to our most sacred bond?" Dravek's voice rose with each question. "The human cannot be trusted with such knowledge." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathered riders. Jack maintained his composure, recognizing the delicate political situation unfolding. "With respect," he addressed the elder, ignoring Dravek, "I came here to share knowledge, not steal it. The Coalition and Viridian have mutual interests in strengthening our alliance." Elder Torin studied Jack with ancient eyes that seemed to peer straight into his soul. "Perhaps," he finally said, "this was meant to be." He turned to address the crowd. "The prophecy speaks of an off-worlder who rides the winds as one born to them, one who bridges two worlds when the darkness rises." A shocked silence fell over the gathering. "You cannot seriously believe this human is the one from the ancient texts," Dravek scoffed. "The prophecy is metaphorical, not literal." "Bring him to the Temple of Winds," Elder Torin commanded, ignoring Dravek's protest. "The Keeper of Records must see this." As they made their way through the settlement, Jack leaned close to Lyrian. "What prophecy?" "An ancient prediction from the time before records," she whispered. "It speaks of a stranger from beyond the stars who would ride the winds and unite our people against a threat from below. Most consider it a children's tale." "And now?" Lyrian's violet eyes met his, uncertainty clouding them. "Now I don't know what to believe. No outsider has ever bonded with an Ikran before. It should be biologically impossible without our neural adaptations." The Temple of Winds was carved directly into the face of a massive cliff, its entrance flanked by towering statues of Ikran in flight. Inside, the air was cool and still, heavy with the scent of burning herbs. Light filtered through carefully positioned crystals, creating dancing patterns across the stone floor. An ancient female Viridian awaited them, her skin so pale blue it was almost white, her eyes milky with age. "I have been waiting for you, Starborn," she said, her voice surprisingly strong. For many cycles, I have watched the skies. Keeper Nalara, Elder Turan bowed deeply. We bring the human who rides the winds. The old woman approached Jack, her unseeing eyes somehow finding his face. Show me your hands, she commanded. Jack extended his palms. The keeper traced the lines with her gnarled fingers, nodding to herself. The pattern matches, she announced, as foretold in the ancient texts. Dravik pushed forward. This is absurd. We cannot entrust our future to a human based on superstition and coincidence. It is neither, the keeper replied sharply. The human's genetic structure resonates with our own in ways we do not yet understand. The tests performed when his kind first arrived confirmed this. Jack blinked in surprise. Tests? What tests? Standard biological scans, Lyrian explained quietly. All off-worlders undergo them during immigration processing. The keeper turned toward a wall covered in ancient carvings. The prophecy speaks of a time when the winds and stars would join against the depths, and when the ancient enemy would rise again. Her finger traced a carving depicting winged figures and bipedal beings standing together against a shadowy mass. The human must train others of his kind to ride. A new squadron born of two worlds. Dravik's face contorted with rage. This is treason. Humans cannot be trusted with our sacred bond. The decision is made, Elder Torin said firmly. Jack Horton will select worthy humans from the Coalition outpost and begin training immediately. Lyrian will assist him. As they exited the temple, Dravik grabbed Lyrian's arm roughly. You've doomed us all with your fascination for this human, he hissed. When the council realizes their mistake, I'll make sure everyone knows who brought this upon us. Jack stepped between them. Remove your hand, he said quietly, his blue eyes hard as steel. For a tense moment, it seemed Dravik might strike. Then with a contemptuous snort, he released Lyrian and stalked away. That went well, Jack muttered. Lyrian rubbed her arm where Dravik had grabbed her. He was my intended mate before the Coalition arrived, she explained. His hatred runs deeper than politics. Jack absorbed this new information. Complicated. Very. She glanced at the temple, then back to Jack. Do you believe in prophecies, Earthman? I believe in making our own destiny, he replied, but I've seen enough strange things in this galaxy to keep an open mind. Lyrian's lips curved into a smile. Good, because according to our most sacred texts, you're about to become the first human Ikran Rider commander in history. The Whispering Plains lie a 3 days flight to the north, Lyrian explained, spreading an intricately detailed map across the table in Jack's quarters. It's where wild Ikrans gather during mating season. If we're going to find mounts for your human trainees, that's our best chance. Jack studied the map, noting the vast, unexplored regions marked with warning symbols. What about these areas here, he asked, pointing to a mountain range etched in red. Lyrian's expression darkened. The Forbidden Peaks. No one goes there. Why not? Ancient taboo. The elders say it's where the darkness first emerged. She rolled up the map decisively. We leave at dawn. Pack light. Stormwind can carry us both, but we'll need room for supplies. As she turned to leave, Jack caught her wrist gently. Are you okay with all this? The prophecy training humans, us? Her violet eyes met his, vulnerability flickering beneath her composed exterior. I don't know what I believe anymore, Jack. My whole life I've followed our traditions without question. Now, she gestured vaguely, everything's changing so fast. Not everything, he said softly, drawing her closer. Some things just become clearer. The kiss they shared was different from their first passionate encounter. Slower, deeper, laden with unspoken emotions, neither was ready to name. When they finally parted, Lyrian pressed her forehead against his, a gesture of intimacy among her people. Dawn, she whispered, reluctantly pulling away. Be ready. The journey north took them over breathtaking landscapes, vast forests where spiral trees grew so tall they pierced the clouds, glittering lakes that changed color with the angle of the sun, and canyons so deep their bottoms were lost in shadow. They camped the first night on a floating island, one of many that drifted in the upper atmosphere of Viridian. Your world is incredible, Jack said, as they sat beside a small fire, the stars impossibly bright above them. I've visited 37 planets, and I've never seen anything like this." Lyrian smiled, passing him a container of fermented fruit juice. "And yet, you humans adapt so quickly. Most species would be overwhelmed." "That's our specialty," Jack replied, taking a sip of the sweet, potent liquid. "Adapting, overcoming, pushing boundaries." "Is that why the Coalition sent you? To push our boundaries?" Jack considered her question carefully. "They sent me because I'm good at what I do. But I think there's more happening here than anyone anticipated. The prophecy," Lyrian nodded, her silver hair gleaming in the firelight. "Not just that, this connection between us, between humans and Viridians. It feels significant." She moved closer, her body radiating warmth against the cool night air. "It does." Their second night was spent in a cave system illuminated by bioluminescent fungi, casting everything in an ethereal blue glow. Their conversation flowed easily from professional to personal, learning about each other's worlds, cultures, and lives. The attraction between them grew with each shared story, each lingering glance, each casual touch that wasn't casual at all. When they finally surrendered to their desires, it was with a deeper understanding of each other, not just a release of tension, but a genuine connection that transcended their biological differences. The third day brought them to the Whispering Plains, a vast expanse of tall, silver grass that produced haunting melodies as the wind passed through. Hundreds of wild Ikrans soared above, engaged in elaborate aerial courtship displays. "We'll observe for now," Lyrian instructed as they set up camp on a ridge overlooking the plains. "The bonding process is delicate. We need to identify which Ikrans might be receptive to human neural patterns." As evening approached, Jack noticed Lyrian growing increasingly distracted, her gaze drawn repeatedly to a distant mountain range barely visible on the horizon. "The Forbidden Peaks," he guessed. She nodded, a conflict evident in her expression. "There's something I haven't told you. The Elders didn't send us just for Ikrans. They want us to investigate the peaks." "I thought no one goes there." "No one has, not for generations, but there have been disturbances, seismic activity, strange lights. The Keeper believes it's connected to the prophecy." Jack studied the mountains thoughtfully. "And you didn't mention this earlier because I wasn't sure I wanted to go," she admitted. "My people avoid those mountains for good reason. The stories say they're haunted by the spirits of the Devourers." "The darkness from below?" "Yes, an ancient species that enslaved my ancestors before being driven underground in a great war. The tales say they fed on neural energy, the same energy that allows us to bond with Ikrans." Jack's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. And now, with humans developing the ability to form those same bonds, it could be awakening them somehow, Lyrian finished. "At least that's what the Keeper fears." The decision was made without further discussion. They would rest that night and head for the Forbidden Peaks at dawn. Their camp was simple, a small shelter constructed from lightweight materials that expanded upon deployment. Inside, the space was intimate, barely enough room for two. As they prepared for sleep, the conversation turned to more personal matters. "In your culture," Jack asked, "what does it mean when two people share what we've shared?" Lyrian's blue fingers intertwined with his. "It depends. Physical connection is valued, but not necessarily binding. The true bond comes from here." She touched his temple. "And here," her hand moved to his chest over his heart. "And for us?" Her violet eyes held his, serious and searching. "I don't know yet. We're writing our own story, Jack Horton. There's no precedent for this." He pulled her closer, breathing in her exotic scent. "I like the sound of that." As they drifted toward sleep in each other's arms, a low rumble shook the ground beneath them, subtle but unmistakable. "Just a tremor," Lyrian murmured sleepily. "They've been happening more frequently lately." Jack wasn't so sure. His combat instincts, honed through years of service, whispered warnings in the back of his mind. Something was stirring beneath the surface of Viridian, something ancient and patient, and tomorrow they would be flying straight toward it. The Forbidden Peaks loomed before them, jagged spires of obsidian rock that seemed to absorb the morning sunlight, rather than reflect it. As Stormwing carried them higher into the thin mountain air, Jack felt an oppressive weight settling over him. Not physical, but a creeping dread that intensified with each wing beat. "Do you feel that?" he asked, his mouth close to Lyrian's ear to be heard over the wind. She nodded, her body tense against his. "The mountains have a presence. My people believe they're alive in some way." They circled the tallest peak, searching for a place to land. The barren landscape offered few options until Lyrian spotted a narrow ledge jutting from the mountainside. "There," she pointed. "I can see an opening in the rock face." Stormwing landed with practiced precision, folding his massive wings to fit on the precarious perch. The cave entrance was barely visible, a dark fissure that might have been overlooked if not for the unnatural symmetry of its edges. "This was carved," Jack observed, running his fingers along the smooth stone. "Deliberately hidden." Lyrian unloaded their gear from Stormwing's harness. "Wait here," she instructed the Ikran, who chirped in acknowledgement. "Call if there's danger." They activated their portable light sources and ventured into the darkness. The passage descended steeply, the air growing noticeably warmer as they progressed. After several hundred meters, the narrow tunnel opened into a vast chamber that stole Jack's breath. "Holy shit," he whispered, his voice echoing. Before them stood the unmistakable remnants of an advanced civilization. Towering structures of black metal and luminescent material created a subterranean cityscape. Most remarkable was the preservation. Despite obvious age, the architecture appeared untouched by time, as if the builders had simply walked away moments ago. "This can't be Devourer technology," Lyrian said, her voice hushed with awe. "Our histories describe them as bestial, primitive." "History written by the victors," Jack mused, approaching what appeared to be a control panel embedded in a central pillar. "Your ancestors might have simplified the narrative." The panel illuminated at his proximity, glyphs appearing on its surface in sequences that shifted and rearranged themselves. "It's scanning me," Jack realized. Before Lyrian could warn him away, he placed his palm against the surface. The chamber hummed to life around them, lights activated in sequence, revealing the true scale of the underground complex. A holographic display materialized above the control panel. These were a three-dimensional model of DNA strands rotating slowly in the air. "It's showing genetic code," Lyrian observed, stepping closer. "Two distinct patterns." Jack studied the display. One human, one Viridian. And look, there's a third sequence being highlighted, the similarities between them. The hologram shifted, displaying a historical record through images and symbols. The story it told contradicted everything Lyrian had been taught. The Devourers hadn't been monstrous invaders, but scientists and explorers who discovered Viridian thousands of years ago. Finding the planet uninhabited but hospitable, they established research outposts to study the unique electromagnetic properties of the world. "They created your people," Jack said softly as the truth became clear. "They engineered a new species with neural capabilities that could interface with their technology." Lyrian's face paled to a lighter shade of blue. "That's impossible. We have our own creation myths, our own." "Look," Jack pointed as new images appeared. Viridians working alongside the Devourers, then scenes of conflict, rebellion. "The servant species rose against its masters," Lyrian whispered. "Just like our histories say, but they weren't monsters feeding on neural energy. They were scientists who created a workforce with specialized neural abilities." Jack's tactical mind pieced together the implications. Your ancestors overthrew them, drove them underground, and rewrote history to demonize them. The display shifted again, showing the Devourers retreating into hibernation chambers deep beneath the mountains, programming their systems to awaken them if certain conditions were met. The human-Ikran bond, Jack realized. It's creating a neural resonance pattern they never anticipated. It's waking them up. Lyrian's eyes widened with understanding. That's why no other species could bond with Ikrans. The Devourers engineered the neural compatibility to be species-specific. But somehow humans... our neural patterns must be similar enough to trigger the connection, Jack finished, and different enough to create a resonance that's activating their hibernation protocols. They explored deeper into the complex, discovering laboratories where the genetic engineering had taken place. In one chamber, they found what appeared to be stasis pods, hundreds of them arranged in concentric circles around a central power source. Are they? Lyrian couldn't finish the question. Jack checked the monitoring systems. Still in hibernation, but the activation sequence has begun. According to these readings, full revival will occur in approximately 72 hours. We need to get back. Warn the settlement, Lyrian said urgently. Wait. Jack accessed another console, bringing up technical schematics. This shows the full network of their facilities. There are hibernation chambers beneath every major Viridian settlement. If they all awaken simultaneously, it would be the end of my people, Lyrian whispered. Jack studied the control systems, his pilot's mind analyzing the problem like a complex flight pattern. There might be a way to reverse the awakening sequence, but I need more time to understand their technology. A tremor shook the chamber, stronger than the previous ones. Dust and small debris rained from the ceiling. The revival process is destabilizing the mountain, Jack realized. We need to get out of here, now. As they hurried back toward the entrance, Lyrian grabbed his arm. Jack, if what we discovered is true, if my entire species was engineered, what does that make me? What does it mean for us? In the dim light of the ancient corridor, Jack pulled her close. It means you're exactly who you've always been. The history doesn't change who you are now. Their lips met in a desperate, passionate kiss. Two beings finding comfort in each other amid world-shattering revelations. When I challenged you to ride my Ikran, Lyrian said as they parted, I had no idea we'd end up here. Jack smiled, his blue eyes reflecting the strange light of the alien technology. I'm starting to think the universe had plans for us all along. Another stronger tremor interrupted them. They raced for the exit, the mountain groaning around them as ancient systems awakened after millennia of dormancy. They emerged onto the ledge to find Stormwing agitated, sensing the danger. As they mounted the Ikran, Jack looked back at the mountain with grim determination. We have 3 days to save your world, he said, and I'm going to need every human pilot the Coalition can spare. The journey back to the settlement was a race against time. Stormwing pushed himself to the limit, sensing the urgency in his riders. They flew through the night, guided by Viridian's twin moons, in the unwavering determination to save both their peoples. Dawn was breaking as they approached the outpost, the settlement coming alive with the day's activities. From above, everything looked normal. No one yet aware of the apocalypse brewing beneath their feet. We need to split up, Jack said as they landed. I'll gather the Coalition pilots while you brief the elders. Lyrian nodded, her face set with resolve. Meet me at the Temple of Winds in 2 hours. The Council will need to hear everything directly from you. Before they parted, Jack pulled her close. Whatever happens, remember, this isn't just about saving your world or mine. It's about creating something new together. Her violet eyes searched his. When this is over, he promised, we'll figure us out. The Coalition outpost was a hub of activity when Jack arrived. He bypassed the administrative offices and headed straight for the pilot's quarters. Captain Martin Haynes, the military liaison, was reviewing flight schedules when Jack burst in. Horton? Thought you were off playing Dragon Rider with the natives, Haynes remarked, raising an eyebrow at Jack's disheveled appearance. I need every pilot you've got, Jack said without preamble, and access to the armory. Haynes' expression turned serious. What's the situation? Jack laid out everything they'd discovered, the true origin of the Viridians, the hibernating devourers, the impending awakening. To his credit, Haynes listened without interruption. So let me get this straight, he said when Jack finished. You want me to authorize a joint human Viridian operation based on information you found in some ancient alien ruins to prevent the awakening of a supposedly advanced species that's been asleep for millennia? That's about the size of it, Jack confirmed. Haynes leaned back in his chair. Command's going to have my ass for this. Then he grinned. But I've always wanted to see humans riding dragons into battle. How many pilots do you need? As many as can bond with Ikrans in the next 48 hours. I've got 23 combat-qualified pilots on station. If what you say about human neural compatibility is true, they're all yours. Haynes activated his comm unit. and I'm calling in every coalition ship within range. If these devourers do wake up, we'll need orbital support." Jack clasped the captain's shoulder. "Humanity at its finest, Haynes." "Damn straight. Now go save your blue girlfriend's world while I handle the bureaucratic fallout." Meanwhile, Lyrian faced a more difficult audience. The Council of Elders listened in stunned silence as she recounted their discoveries. When she finished, the chamber erupted in chaos. "Blasphemy!" Dravek shouted from his position among the squadron leaders. "She's been corrupted by human influence, spreading lies about our sacred origins." Elder Torin raised a hand for silence. "These are serious claims, Lyrian. You understand you're challenging the foundation of our entire society?" "I understand I'm telling you the truth," she replied steadily, "as a truth that will save us if we act quickly." The Keeper of Records, Ancient Nalara, tapped her staff against the stone floor. "The prophecy speaks of truth revealed when stars and winds unite. Perhaps this human has indeed brought us the truth we've hidden from ourselves." Dravek pushed forward. "Even if what she says is true, why should we trust humans to help us? Their kind has always sought to exploit other species." "Because without them, we die," Lyrian said bluntly. "The Devourers created us with specific neural limitations. Humans don't have those limitations. They can help us reprogram the awakening sequence." The debate raged on, precious minutes ticking away. Finally, Elder Toron made his decision. "We will hear the human's plan," he announced. "Bring him before us." When Jack arrived at the temple, he found the atmosphere tense but receptive. He presented his strategy with the confident authority of a seasoned military commander. "The Devourer's hibernation chambers are networked. If we can access the main control hub beneath the settlement, we can potentially override the entire system." He displayed the schematics he'd downloaded from the mountain facility. "But we'll need to establish a neural interface more powerful than anything they've encountered before." "And how do you propose to do that?" Dravek challenged. Jack met his gaze steadily. "By creating the first human Viridian Ikran squadron. Our combined neural patterns, channeled through the Ikran bond, should generate enough resonance to overwhelm their systems." Elder Torin stroked his braided beard thoughtfully. "You're suggesting we teach humans our most sacred tradition in a matter of days?" "I'm suggesting we save both our peoples by combining our strengths," Jack corrected, "Viridian skill with human adaptability." The council deliberated briefly before Elder Toron nodded. "We will provide 20 of our finest Ikrans and riders to train your humans. The prophecy will be fulfilled. Stars and winds united against the darkness." As the meeting adjourned, Dravek cornered Lyrian in a temple corridor. "You've doomed us by bringing him here," he hissed. "When the humans learn to control Ikrans, what's to stop them from taking Viridian for themselves?" "The same thing that stops you from seeing the truth," she replied coldly. "Pride. Jack isn't here to conquer. He's here to save us, whether you like it or not." "Your judgment is clouded by your feelings for him," Dravek sneered. "Everyone knows you've taken him as your mate." "My judgment is clearer than it's ever been," Lyrian said, stepping closer. "And yes, I've chosen him, a human who proved himself worthy by actions, not birthright. Perhaps that's what truly bothers you, Dravek." She left him seething as she joined Jack outside the temple, where preparations were already underway. The Whispering Plains expedition had been repurposed. Wild Ikrans were being brought to the settlement for the human pilots to attempt bonding. That evening, in the privacy of Jack's quarters, they found brief respite from the frantic preparations. Their bodies sought comfort in each other, the physical connection a counterpoint to the mental and emotional strain of the day. "Do you think it will work?" Lyrian asked afterward, her head resting on his chest. Jack traced patterns along her blue skin, marveling at how natural their differences had become. "It has to. The alternative isn't an option. And if we succeed, what then?" He kissed her forehead gently. "Then we build something new. Not just human, not just Viridian, something better than either alone." As they drifted towards sleep, a subtle tremor shook the building, a reminder that beneath them, an ancient power was stirring. They had less than 48 hours to create a fighting force, unlike any the galaxy had seen before. And it had all started with a challenge. If you're a real pilot, prove it by riding my Ikran. Neither of them could have imagined where that challenge would lead. Dawn broke over Viridian with an eerie stillness. The usual morning chorus of native wildlife had fallen silent, as if the entire ecosystem sensed the impending confrontation. In the central training grounds, 14 human pilots stood beside their newly bonded Ikrans, an impossible sight just days ago. Jack surveyed the unlikely squadron with pride. The bonding process had been grueling, with only 14 of Haynes's 23 pilots successfully forming connections with the wild Ikrans. But those who succeeded showed remarkable aptitude, their human adaptability accelerating what normally took Viridians years to master. "They're not pretty, but they'll fly," Captain Haynes remarked, watching a human pilot awkwardly adjust her position on her Ikran's neural ridge. "They don't need to be pretty," Jack replied. "They just need to generate enough neural resonance to overload the awakening sequence." Liren approached, her face grim. "The tremors are increasing in frequency. The elders believe we have less time than we thought, perhaps only hours before the first devourers fully awaken." Before Jack could respond, a commotion erupted at the edge of the training grounds. Dravek stormed toward them, followed by several loyal squadron members. "This ends now," he shouted, drawing a ceremonial blade. "I will not allow humans to desecrate our sacred bond for a threat that may not even exist." Jack stepped forward. "The threat is real, Dravek. And right now, we're the only chance your people have." "Lies," Dravek spat. "You've manipulated the elders with your human deceptions. You've corrupted Lyrian, and now you want to take control of our Ikrans for your coalition's military advantage?" Lyrian positioned herself between them. "Dravek, this isn't about politics or pride. It's about survival." "It's about betrayal," he snarled, lunging forward with his blade. Jack reacted with combat-honed reflexes, sidestepping the attack and disarming Dravek with a precise strike to his wrist. The blade clattered to the ground. "I don't want to fight you," Jack said calmly. "We need every rider we can get." Dravek's response was cut short by a violent tremor that shook the entire settlement. Cracks appeared in the ground, and a distant explosion echoed from the direction of the Temple of Winds. "They're awakening!" Elder Torin's voice carried across the training grounds as he hurried toward them. "The chamber beneath the temple has been breached." Captain Haynes activated his comm unit. "All pilots, mount up!" This is not a drill. The human Viridian squadron mobilized with remarkable efficiency, humans and aliens moving in synchronized purpose. Jack turned to Lyrian, who had already summoned Stormwing. "The plan's changing," he said urgently. "We need to get to the control hub now, before more chambers activate." As they mounted Stormwing, Dravek grabbed Jack's ankle. "I'm coming with you," he said, his expression conflicted. "Not for you, for Viridian?" Jack nodded, extending his hand to pull the warrior up behind them. Whatever their differences, survival demanded unity. The squadron took to the skies as the first devourer emerged from beneath the temple. The creature was nothing like the monstrous legends, tall, elegant, with iridescent skin and multiple limbs that moved with fluid grace. But its eyes held cold intelligence as it surveyed the settlement with clinical detachment. "The entrance to the control hub is beneath the Elder's chamber," Lyrian shouted over the wind. "We need to get there before they secure it." Jack relayed commands to the squadron, splitting their forces. Half would engage any emerging devourers as a distraction, while the rest would escort Jack, Lyrian, and Dravek to the temple. The aerial battle began almost immediately. The devourers had defensive systems, sleek, automated drones that rose from hidden silos to intercept the Ikrans. The human pilots proved their worth, executing combat maneuvers that left their Viridian counterparts in awe. What they lacked in experience with Ikrans, they more than compensated for with tactical ingenuity. "Humanity, fuck yeah!" Haynes's voice crackled over the comm as his Ikran executed a perfect barrel roll, evading drone fire, while his human gunner picked off two pursuers. Stormwing dove toward the temple, weaving through crossfire with Jack and Lyrian, moving as one in perfect synchronization. They landed in the central courtyard, now abandoned as civilians fled the settlement. This way, Lyrian led them through the temple's winding corridors to the Elder's private chamber. The floor had collapsed, revealing a softly glowing passage below. They descended into the ancient facility, a smaller version of what they'd found in the Forbidden Peaks. At its center stood a pulsing crystalline structure, clearly the control hub they sought. "How do we shut it down?" Dravik asked, his earlier hostility replaced by grudging cooperation. Jack studied the alien interface. "According to the schematics, we need to establish a counter-resonance through neural connection." "Like writing an Ikran," Lyrian realized, "but much more intense." Jack nodded. "I'll need to connect directly to the system. My neural pattern, combined with the human viridian resonance from above, should create enough interference to crash their awakening protocol." "It could kill you," Dravik warned, surprising them with his concern. "It's a risk I'll take," Jack replied, approaching the crystal. Lyrian caught his arm. "Not alone." Her violet eyes held his with fierce determination. "The prophecy speaks of unity, stars and winds together." Understanding dawned on Jack. "Our bond, it's stronger than either of us alone." Before they could act, a tall figure emerged from a side passage. A fully awakened devourer. Its multifaceted eyes regarded them with ancient intelligence. "The servant species has evolved," it observed in a voice like harmonizing crystals, "and brought new variables." Dravik moved protectively in front of Jack and Lyrian. "We are not your servants anymore." The devourer tilted its head. "You were created to assist our research. Your rebellion was unexpected, as is this new alliance." Jack stepped forward. "Your awakening will destroy their civilization. We can't allow that." "Our purpose is not destruction," the devourer corrected, "but continuation of our work. The neural patterns you've created, human and viridian combined, are fascinating. We would study this phenomenon." "Not at the cost of our freedom," Lyrian declared. Another tremor shook the facility as more stasis chambers activated throughout the planet. They were running out of time. "Now, Jack!" Lyrian grabbed his hand and lunged toward the crystal. Their palms pressed against the pulsing surface simultaneously. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. A neural connection far more intimate than anything they had experienced. Their minds merged not just with each other, but with every bonded human in Ikran above, creating a cascading resonance that flooded the ancient network. Jack felt Lyrian's consciousness intertwined with his. Her memories, fears, hopes, and the growing love she felt for him. He opened himself completely to her. Their combined will focused on a single command: deactivate. The devourer moved to stop them, but Dravik intercepted, buying them precious seconds with his sacrifice. The crystal pulsed erratically, then emitted a blinding flash that knocked Jack and Lyrian backward. When the silence fell, the tremors stopped. Jack regained consciousness to find Lyrian cradling him, her silver hair falling around them like a curtain. "Did it work?" he asked weakly. "See for yourself," she smiled, helping him to his feet. The control hub had transformed. Instead of the awakening sequence, it now displayed a different protocol, one that would keep the devourers in stasis indefinitely, while allowing controlled access to their knowledge and technology. "We did it!" Jack breathed. "But Dravik!" They turned to find the Viridian warrior wounded but alive, the devourer standing motionless nearby, locked in some kind of suspended animation. "Your neural command affected all devourer systems," Dravik explained, wincing as he stood. "They're not dead, but paused." Above, the aerial battle had ended with the drone defenses shutting down simultaneously. Human and Viridian riders circled in victory, their impossible partnership having saved two worlds. 3 months later, Jack stood on the newly constructed observation platform overlooking the expanded settlement. What had begun as a simple training assignment had transformed into the galaxy's most unique joint colony. Humans and Viridians worked side by side, studying devourer technology while developing their unprecedented Ikran bond. Warm arms encircled him from behind, blue skin contrasting with his tan, as Lyrian rested her chin on his shoulder. "The new squadron completed their first patrol," she reported. "Captain Haynes says the humans are getting too damn good at riding Ikrans." Jack turned to face her, still marveling at how right it felt to bridge their two worlds. "Think they'll ever be as good as us?" Her lips curved into the smirk he'd first seen in that frontier bar when she'd issued the challenge that changed everything. "If they're real pilots, let them prove it." Jack laughed, pulling her close. You had no idea what you were starting with that challenge, did you? No, she admitted, violet eyes sparkling with mischief and love. But I'm very glad I issued it. As the twin suns set over Viridian, casting golden light across the landscape where humans and aliens built a shared future, Jack silently thanked whatever cosmic coincidence had brought him to this world and this woman. Sometimes the greatest adventures began with the simplest challenges, and sometimes humanity's greatest strength was its ability to forge connections across the stars.